Yeah, we are live. We are live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the No Yelling Challenge for the next 5 days. I have not seen anybody's comments. If you can see me, do let me know that you can see me. And if you can hear me, do also let me know that you can hear me. And let's kick the ball rolling. So, welcome everybody to this challenge. My name is Vivian Annie. I am the founder of the Proactive Parents Academy, and I convened this challenge that we'll be hosting for the next 5 days. We are doing this challenge because we have found out that there are so many things that bridges our relationship with our children, and if we don't get them tackled from the foundation, we may not be able to impact, influence, teach, whatever it is that you want to do with your children may never be possible if you don't handle the issues that are fundamental. So welcome to the No Yelling Challenge. In the next 5 days, we'll be doing this, and I want us to constantly follow up with all the things that will be done in this challenge, so that we get to know why we are having some of these issues and handle them. So today we are looking at excuse me. Everything is on. Okay, let's go. So today we are looking at the reason why your child is not listening. What we'll be doing in the next 5 days is identify problems, identify all of the issues that constitute to why our children may not be listening to us, and then that gets us to yell and shout. What are the issues behind all this yelling, screaming? Is a cycle that's been going on. But before we do that, let's get to know who we are and why we want to embark on this journey. Our community is the Proactive Parents community on Facebook, and the Proactive Parents primarily are intentional parents who are working proactively, to get to know what they should do even before the need arises. That's what being proactive means. Proactive means you're preparing yourself, you're getting yourself equipped. If you're not prepared, you can't prepare your child. That's what we do in the Proactive Parents Academy. We are preparing parents. The mission is to prepare parents, and then parents will get their children prepared for the work ahead, for the world they are going to live in. The world our children are going to live in is not the world we were born into, or the world our parents lived in. The world is evolving, and is fast evolving today because the digital is upon us. So we are preparing ourselves to be able to prepare our children. That's what we do in the Proactive Parents Academy. So we are intentional parents, deliberate, conscious. That's what we intend to achieve by being proactive. So, as an intentional parent, please, if you come in, put in the comment section something. Let me know that you're here with me and that you can hear me. I don't know. I'm seeing people, but I don't know if you can hear me. Say something in the comment section. Let me know that you can hear me, and let's keep rolling. So, what we are doing is to prepare ourselves for the work ahead. So, the Proactive Parent Academy is an equipping ground, a place where we prepare parents for the work ahead. Now, it is only an intentional person that will want to see a problem and want to find out why the problem is there. You are an intentional parent because you are able to identify that, oh, this thing is wrong, this thing is a problem, I need to work at it, I need to find solution to it. That's what intentional parent does. Intentional parent has a goal he or she wants to achieve. He doesn't just want to do it because everybody is doing it. He wants to know, why am I doing this, and what should I do better? Maya Angelou says something that I love so much. There's a quote. She said, "You do what you know until you know better. And when you know better, you do better. So you want to know better, you want to do better. That's why you're here. And I commend you for being here. I applaud you for being here because you want to be intentional. You don't just want to raise children, the way you were raised with all the errors that is, or mistakes or whatever thing that was the challenge of your own time. You don't just want to do it that way, or you just want to assume it that is it not just this parenting? We can always do it anyhow. If you do anything anyhow, not only parenting, anything you do anyhow, your result will definitely be anyhow. And I don't think any of us want to do anyhow with our children. This is human beings we're talking about. And then when you do anyhow with your child in anyhow they want, let them come out. What do you know that finally they will get their feet? It's not true. You are only assuming. And that's what kept so many of us adults where we are. Because we probably in the assumption of our parents or even ourselves, we think we'll definitely find our feet. And then by the time life keep happening and we're not finding our feet, we are wondering why. Anybody who is living his or her life without intentionality of so many things will definitely get the result of anyhow. So I commend you for being here. Thank you very much for taking the step, for understanding that there's something wrong with your parenting, there's something you need to change, there's something you need to work out to better yourself and best equip your children to do better in life. Most importantly, to build a solid relationship that will help you with your children to be able to do better with them. Now today, because you are conscious, because you're deliberate, because you're intentional about this journey, about your children, about how you want them to turn out, about the next generation, about the legacy you want to leave, about the influence you want to make in them. You are here to know why am I shouting? Why am I yelling? What is the cause? What should I do better? So today, primarily, we want to look at why is it that our children are not listening. Some 7, 8 years ago, I was on this journey, or 9 years ago, I was on this journey in finding out what exactly is wrong with me. Why am I always screaming? Why am I always shouting? What is the problem with me? And what am I intending to achieve with all of this? It was in my so much finding and researching and taking learning to unlearn and relearn parenting that I got to see all the dangers that this thing poses on our parenting. And it took me back the memory lane because I have been someone who has always worked as a confidant with parents, and I saw so many people who have been or who were broken. All of that, made their parenting a tough one, or made it a very difficult one. Most importantly, it broke the children they were raising. So, in okay, thank you, Onyinye. Welcome. I can see you. Thank you for being here. And confirm that you can hear me, Onyinye. Confirm that you can hear me. Sorry about the breakup, the network, and the distraction. So when you see all of these things coming together and you realize that there are some ways that we were raised that we need to learn, relearn, and unlearn and work on our mindset to be able to unravel all of these mistakes, because like I usually say, generations. Now, today we are looking at what is the reason behind our child not listening. Why is it that my child is not listening to me, or what makes them not to listen? Follow me on this journey because there are some things I want us to look at while we work on this, while we take this challenge in this 5 days. And I want it to be interactive. I want it to be very interactive. So, number one thing I said is there are reasons why your children are not listening, or why a child may not listen to you. But primarily, the major reason that hinges every other reason is that communication is not yet effected, and a child cannot hear you. Your child cannot just hear you. That's the primary reason. That's the umbrella where every other thing hinges on. Your child is not hearing you, and so he or she doesn't understand what you want. Not because their ears are not open, but because there's no communication primarily. And the reason why you also yell and shout is because you feel you're not being heard. That's the reason. Now, yelling, shuts children down. Like they shut you down, they tune out when you're screaming and shouting. I remember some years ago, that girl should be 10 now. My eldest sister, her daughter was at like 3 at that time. And she called me and said, you who advocates positive parenting, you teach us not to do this and do that. This girl is becoming unbearable for me. She's 3 at that time, yeah. She was 3 at that time. So she said, I am talking to this girl, and now while I'm talking, she's closing her eyes and ears and saying, I can't hear you, mommy. I can't hear you, mommy. And I told her yes, she couldn't hear you because you're yelling, you're screaming, she doesn't understand what you're trying to the message you're trying to pass across. So put it down that when you're yelling, your child cannot hear you. They tune out. That's number one. Number two, you are contradicting the message you're also wanting to pass. For instance, you say, You supposed to stop making noise. Why are you making noise?" And you're raising your voice and you're shouting at them. They are also seeing you shouting and responding to that shout. That's what you want them to do, which is not to shout or not to make noise. They too are responding with the top of their voice because you're contradicting yourself. You don't want them to shout, and you're the one shouting. That's number two. Number three, you're not following through consequences or modalities that you mapped out for them. If a child knows that he can go out with anything or he can get away with anything, he will definitely try to manipulate you. We call it emotional manipulation. He will try to manipulate you by trying to um, when he knows or she knows that you're not following through, or your mommy is not going to do anything if I do this, or dad is not going to do anything if I do this, they will definitely, get you how do I put it? They will get you distracted, a kind of, because they know that you're not following through. So there's a quote I want us to look at before we go ahead with this, that says, it's from Robert Fulgo. Robert says, don't worry because your kids are not listening to you, but worry because they are watching you. They are watching all of your body languages, signs, your face, your disposition. All of those things that your children are watching are one of the things that they pick and soak easily. Not necessarily what you say sometimes or how you say it, but they are watching everything that you're doing, you know, while you're communicating to them. If you're communicating, for instance, we mothers, we know that when we're breastfeeding a child, and while you're breastfeeding the child looks at you, raises his eyes or her eyes, and looks at you. And if you do any sign of like smiles or trying to make the child feel good, the child also smiles back. That's that's to show you how children soak what our body languages are and how we communicate it. No matter the age of the child. So your body language is very, very key, not only what you say with your mouth. So our children, no matter the age, they are watching your face while you say, go and do this, go and do that. Why are you not doing this? They are watching your body language, they are watching your disposition, they are watching the signs in your face, they're trying to pick what you're saying, and they want to know why you're feeling the way you're feeling. All right. So while we do these things, let's take a poll. I put something here. We will take a poll to understand that our children's behavior is not random. There is always a reason for it. And while we're taking this poll, I want us to put down, for instance, you can say child one. Child one is always, for instance, let me use something that is practical that you can understand. Child one talks back at you, at adults, or at me. Child two is always fighting, he's always hitting the siblings, you know, just something that that is primarily why what your child does that gets you angry. Yes, Jane. Yes, yes. You see it, Jane. You see it. Your daughter is always reminding you that you don't follow through your rules. So they know that you're not following through. And because they know that you're not following through, they will definitely get out of it. So when you say things like, if you don't do this will happen, you're just making a maid threat. And that's the worst thing any parent can do. Once a child knows that you're always threatening, you're always making empty threats, they would sure do that thing and get out of it. Because they know you will not do anything about it. So Jane, follow me in this pool. I can see your chat and two other persons. So follow me in this pool. Let's do some practicals and get to do, because we want to dig deeper in some of those things, because this is a huge topic and is a cycle we want to break. So we must go to the foundation on the problems that are embedded in why we yell. We just yell and shout and we think it's just normal, it's just something we just do, is nothing, and all of that. But there are reasons, there are embedded reasons, there are fundamental problems that are under the yelling that we want to dig out in these 5 days. So, primarily today, we are starting with this challenge, with this pool that we want to take. Now, what are those things that makes you angry in your children? If you have two children, say things like, practically, for instance, I said my daughter is my child one is talking at other, talking back. When you're talking, she's also ranting and all that. You can put down something like that. What is it that makes you angry? And then you feel that's why you're shouting, that's why you're always shouting. Or child two, who is always restless, he will never sit down in a place, you tell them not to do this, you do that. Just put down something you think that is the reason why you are always, yelling at a child. I wait for you people to do, just one, two thing, put down something in the comment section and let's go ahead. So I wait to see your comments. I wait to see the comments, and then we go ahead. Just something. We are taking a poll for some people who are just joining us. Um, I said let's take a poll. If you're just joining us, you can catch the replay for the introductory part of the challenge. But for now, we are taking a poll where we want to dig out that thing that the child does that makes you angry. My child talks back at me. My child will never obey simple instruction. My child is restless. He will never sit in a place. You tell them to go and do this, do that. Just say your own. Say your own, what you know that makes you angry with a particular child. You can say child one does this, child two does this. If you have 10, anyhow you want to do it, just say something and then we go ahead. Awesome, awesome. Child one is restless, hardly stays in a place, and cries unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. Okay, okay, okay. Good. Child one is restless, hardly stays in one place, and cries unnecessarily. Okay, okay. Jane, that's for you. That's for you. Let's get one more thing and then we go ahead. Very many of us will be catching the replay. So when they get here, they will also take their pool. We're over 20 parents in this challenge. When they get here, they will also take their pool so that they will understand even better when we begin to explain this thing deeper. Now let's go ahead. I said something here. These things that you're writing now is why you think you are shouting. That is your justification. Your justification is he's restless, he hardly stays in a place, he cries unnecessary cry, this, that, anything you put down in this pool that we're taking now is your justification. That's what you use to justify why you're yelling. I hope you understand. So whatever you're putting here now is your justification. Now, let me tell you as we go further that yelling is deeper than you can think. Yelling is deeper than the way you just look at it. It's a cycle that we have known. Good. Child two hits and pushes and does not pay attention even when his name is called. Awesome. 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 This is your justification now for yelling. This is a justification. Now, let me tell you also, I was saying something. I said, in this justification that we all have, my child does this, my child does that, this, in all the reasons that we're going to put in this our pool, remember, yelling is a cycle. We were yelled at. There's a place where we picked this yelling, and as a negative cycle that it is, we took it in our own journey, and we did not even know that there's something deeper than we're just seeing it on the surface. Now, yelling is an addiction, and just like every other addiction, for instance, yelling, masturbation, and pornography, every addiction you can think of, drug abuse, any addiction you can think of, makes you feel good whenever you're doing it. When you're shouting at children, for instance, what's wrong with you? This and that, you're a stupid boy, you don't listen, this and that, verbal abuses and all the things that come upon it. What you take and justify what you're doing is these reasons. Now, when you're doing this, there's a hormone called dopamine. Dopamine rushes in the blood system while you're doing shouting and yelling, because dopamine is that hormone that makes you feel good, makes you feel that what you're doing is right. Just go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. That's what dopamine does. Dopamine rushes in the blood system and makes you feel good. In fact, it is called the feel good hormone, the feel good hormone. So dopamine rushes and makes you feel good. So if you're yelling, dopamine is rushing in your blood system, and you find out that you keep shouting the more, you keep shouting the more. From the shouting, you even slap the child, you even hit the child, you insult the child, you abuse the child. I have been on that lane. I have been on that journey. So I am telling you what I have also gone through. I'm not telling you what is an abstract thing. This is what I've gone through, and I have gone through all the pains and all the problem and overwhelm that healing puts me into. Because one thing that we don't even know is that by the time you get addicted to something, you start transferring the aggression, you start transferring it, start making it, increasing, diversifying it on different angles. My own yelling as an addicted yeller led me into nagging. I became a nagging mother, a nagging wife. I was nagging at my husband. I complained about everything. No, you should have done it that way. Why didn't you cook it like this? Why didn't somebody is helping you and you're giving, you're not even appreciating, you're giving order on why you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that. It all started from my yelling addiction. It all started from my yelling addiction. So while we are going to break these things down, it's for us to know that it starts small and it starts increasing, and that's how you get addicted and you start feeling normal about it, and you start feeling it's okay. Our parents yelled at us. What happened? He didn't do anything. He did a lot of damage to us. That is why we are where we are in some level and some places in our journey in life, and we think it's okay. It's not okay. But while we're going through this challenge, you'll get to understand this even more deeper. So these justifications that we have just mentioned, Jane, you have mentioned yours. The next person, I'm seeing two other people who mentioned theirs. Others who will join us later, who will the replay, will also do theirs, and then they will get to understand that their justification is not enough. Your justification. I know how hard it is. I know how frustrating it is. I know how overwhelming it is. I have been on that path, and I can tell you for free that this path where we are working together for you to come to is going to bless generations to come after you. From you, your children, your grandchildren, is going to bless them. But you may not understand it now until we finish this challenge, and you get to see the damages, or rather the pros and cons of what yelling does. So what is it that you need to do when you are addicted to something? The number one thing, or number one way to find out solution to any problem, is awareness. Why you are here is because you are aware that what you're doing is wrong, and you may not know all the effect, but you know that it has a negative effect on you or your children, and so you want to do better, and that's why you're here. That's self-awareness. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking this bold step for yourself and for the next generation. You're already changing the cycle. You're already changing the narrative, from what it is that we had in our time. Now, after being aware, the number two thing you do for you to surmount any problem is taking responsibility. Why you see people don't come out of challenges or problems is because they keep blaming this person, they keep blaming this person, wife, children, uncles, auntie, parents, and all the blame that is going around. You never take responsibility of what it is that you want to change in your life, and that's why we are here. The number two thing, which is what I'm explaining, taking responsibility, is why you are here. You have become aware, self awareness have led you to understand that this is wrong. The number two thing you're doing now is that you want to take responsibility. And thank you for taking this responsibility. God. Now, how do you take responsibility? Number one way to take responsibility is put it down in the comment section. If you can still hear me, please put it down right for us today. Put it down in the comment section. How do I take responsibility? Number one, focus on yourself. Start from yourself. Any responsibility, anything you want to change and you're taking responsibility, start from yourself. Forget about the other person. We know that the other person is causing the problem. We know that the other person is not doing well. We know that the other person is the reason why you're doing what you're doing, this and that. There are so many justifications that we all have. I had my own plenty. I still have today plenty. Because in each level of your parenting journey, you need knowledge to navigate. So where I was 10 years ago is not where I am today, but I'm still learning on what to do in the level where I am today. And most importantly, the knowledge I've gotten all the while that I've been learning has also helped me process my journey and walk through a process. So today you're taking this responsibility so that you also can work in a process. Start with yourself. Focus on yourself. That's the number one way to take responsibility. Jane, if you can hear me, put it down in the comment section. Start with yourself. And I said here in the number one, start from yourself. Do a check of how you were raised and the patterns in your own upbringing. Do a check in the way you were raised and the patterns. There are patterns that we all had in our homes. There are ways, for instance, let me give an example. I was sharing with my husband sometime, you know, the way children you'll be cooking in the kitchen and children come into the kitchen, mommy, give me fish. Mommy, maybe you're breaking dry fish or something. They're begging, mommy, give me fish. Mommy, this other person comes and pick, this other person comes and beg, and all of that. And when my children come to me like that, I keep giving, I give, and I say, don't come back. I've given you this, that, except the person that I'm cooking with. Now, while I was doing that one day, my husband came in the kitchen and was like, wow, this thing can never happen. When we're children, if you come into the kitchen like this and you pick fish or you pick something, my mommy will slap you, my mommy will do this, my mommy will do that. I say, wow, you know why you are doing it? Because my husband also was in that yelling. He wasn't just a yeller, he was a colonial master. That's what we call it in my home. We jokingly call anybody who hits a child, anybody who still lays your hand on a child is a colonial master. You're still seeing the next person as your slave, who you can beat, who you can slap, and then you think you've done something to correct the person. So while we're sharing that, my husband said to me, my mother was not allowing us to do all of these things because she will ask you, where will you be if I finish cooking it? I now told him that why she was doing that is there's something under it. It's not just because she doesn't want to give the child. There's an overwhelm she's going through, which was not tackled or which she doesn't even know that she was going through an overwhelm, and that's why she hits children for begging, mommy, give me fish. What is there that a child said, mommy, give me this, mommy, give me child? You can explain to the child why you want or do not want to give, and then you have added a value to the child's knowledge or life. Not slapping the child and beating them, or get out. If I finish cooking it, what will happen? Where will it be? And all of that. So we are taking responsibility, and that's why we are here. Number one thing I said we should do, Jane, put it down in the comment section, is start from yourself. You're going to do a check today to look at the patterns that you grew with, how you were groomed, how were you yelled at, were trivial things, big matters, while you were growing up, where your own parents What are the patterns? How did they do or handle issues when you people were children? That's number one thing you're going to do today. You're going to think through it. You're going to check your past. You're going to check your past. Addicted to a certain behavior without knowing it. You get addicted to certain behavior without knowing it. From our past. Noise in this thing. Yelling stems from our past. Yelling stems from our past. So check your past. There's something that is behind what you're doing. There's something that is overwhelming you, that is getting you angry, that is frustrating you, that is making you feel unhappy. There's something. Check that thing. Check your past. It is in that checking that you get to know why you are yelling. So certain behaviors we just get addicted without even knowing. So you picked that yelling from something from somewhere. There's something that made you pick it. So check your past. That's number two thing we're going to do today. Number three thing is think of the arrows that you're projecting to your children. There's a thin line between um, yelling and verbal abuse that nobody talks about. I don't know if you have noticed that while you're shouting, you just slip off and say, idiot, stupid boy, naughty boy, this and that. You're a very terrible human being. Even, all manner of things. We say all manner of things. I have been there. I've been there. I couldn't believe it that I will shout at a child and say, stupid you, animal, you're just an animal. You behave like this. Look at how you're pouring tea everywhere. What's wrong with you? You eat like an animal. This, that, that. Verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is more psychologically traumatic than any abuse you can think of because it stays in a child's head. Okay, let me give you an example. When we were children, my daddy used to call us because of our restlessness. My daddy was sometimes we'll break things, we'll do this, we'll do. My daddy was incorrigible children. Till tomorrow, me and my siblings we play and laugh about incorrigible children. Incorrigible children sticked because that's one word, one sentence daddy makes every time we do something wrong. you know. So anything you say to a child, verbal abuse stays. And the pain there is that even as an adult, it batters a child's self-esteem because he or she was told right from when he was a child that he's good for nothing. You are I can't even say all of that. Yes, I can't even say the 101 thing that we say. Sometime last week I was in a friend's house. The woman, they are pastors. The husband is a pastor. And while the woman was shouting at the children, she said to the girl taking care of the children, why are you here? Why do you want to pass through this place? You behave like a witch. You do this. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? I blinked my eyes like, she later apologized to the young girl. The girl is like 14 or 15. But the abuse, what I'm trying to say is the abuse stays in the child's head. There's a very thin line. Nobody talks about verbal abuse because we have already been traumatized with it. So we don't even know that it's already a harm on us. And then we are carrying it over. And while you're shouting, you see yourself, you're a very stubborn boy, you're a very stupid boy, you're a very hopeless human being, this, that, all of these things. Yes, yes, Clementina, yes, ma. That's what we do. All of these things stays in a child's head. The way I just said, incorrigible children stayed in our head because daddy always use it when we do anything wrong. Incorrigible children. Today, as adults, we laugh about it because daddy had more of the positive, where more of where he built us with the positive affirmation than where he used the verbal abuses, you know. But while we are doing that in anger, we may not be able to build our children's self-esteem because we have watered them. It stays in their head. I know when my daughter was 5, she was telling me, Mommy, there's something you do that I don't like. Mommy, there's something you do that I don't like. And when I asked her, what did I do? Because they were my own accountability partner. I called my children. We're coming to that. We'll get to that. I called my children and I explained what I was trying to achieve, and that's why I wanted them to be on this journey with me. And as accountability partner, my daughter will always remind me. She said, "Mommy, there's something I don't like that you're always doing. What is it?" She will look at me. That's the way I look at them. She will look at me the way I eye them. Like, are you all right? Are you stupid? What's wrong with you? I have not said it, but I've looked at the person like you're not a human being. So she'll eye me like this and do that same thing that I do to them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even know that I was eyeing you, you know. And she kept on correcting me on that thing. She kept on correcting me. Today, I look at them eyeball to eyeball when I'm saying things, and I'm like, and they're like, this is real mommy. You. But those thin lines that you don't think, that you don't know that you're crossing, it sticks, it's more hurting. The psychological abuse is can't be cleaned. There are so many of us adults today that can never forgive our parents or forgive the adults we lived with because of all the abuses they were raining on us, abuses they were abusing us. Because in fact, the woman I was at her house last week told me the woman in her house or those excelling her, you amount to nothing. You are just a good for nothing. Verbal abuse, terrible, terrible, and it crushes when we start yelling. So you snap off and you start shouting, and from that the abuses will start coming. The abuses will start coming. So this I call it arrows that we project on our children. These arrows, we need to think about it while we're doing the assessment of today, because I'm going to send an assessment check guide that will help you, do this assessment using what we have just put down, you know, while we're doing this. So today, I want you to look at these three things that I've just mentioned and do an honest review of the reasons, all the reasons you have that makes you yell, that makes you scream. And I said the reason for the challenge is for you to discover why you are doing what you're doing. You're yelling, you're shouting, your abuses, you all the things you're doing that yelling, is the umbrella of why you're doing all of these things. Look at it holistically today with the assessment guide. I'm going to send an assessment check to everybody, and you use it to look at it and send me your responses privately so that we can dig deeper and understand and find a solution to what it is that we're going to use the assessment guide to do. And I said, when we find out the why, we commit to breaking the negative cycle of yelling so that your children can carry forward. A lot of us think, I see people in the group or some other groups where parents are, and they will say things like, it's not possible to parent without shouting and yelling. What? I am, I am an evidence. I am an evidence. And when you see children who operate in a higher function is when a child is able to concentrate, able to think, able to plan, able to make decisions on himself. It is because the brain is able to do that. Our children's brain is being affected with all of this yelling. We are coming to that. I think on the third day, we're looking at brain science and what brain says about yelling and what neuroscience says about yelling and what it does to children's brain. When you get to that point, you will realize that, come, I would never. And this is some of the things that is affecting us adults today because we were yelled at, we were shouted at, we were abused, we were done all of these things, we had all this psychological trauma and all of that. And then today there are so many higher functions we cannot operate at. There are so many things we cannot think at because our brain has our thinking part of the thinking part of our brain has been shut down. It has been shut down. So should we still go ahead with some of these things with our children? And when we see children who are doing awesome things, creating solutions, bringing out things, solutions in the world and in the problem that they are solving, we're like, wow, it is because the child's brain is able to think. So if you want your children to come to that point where they are taking decisions, where they are operating in higher functions generally, we'll come to that, we'll break it down, we'll have assessment check that will help us understand all of these things that we'll do daily. When we come to that level where we understand the effect of this yelling, you will never ever think of using yelling as a solution why your children get you angry or all of that. And you won't even think of the justifications we talked about. My child is not listening, my child is not doing this, my child is not doing that. So you want to commit to this. I said, for us to commit to breaking the negative cycle of yelling so that our children will carry forward and we start raising traumatic free adults and children that are coming to become adults that are wholesome, that are not traumatic, that are confident, because all of these things robs the child's self-esteem. We are coming to all of these things. We'll break it down as the day goes by. So use the material that I will send after this class. Use the material. I'll be sending that material daily. For I call it assessment checklist. Use it and do the assessment of today. Today we only found out why our child is not listening. And in our why, we saw some things we gave as reasons for people who are just good. Jane says she strongly believes she can parent without yelling. Good. The flesh is just weak. Yes, even me, I knew I was just weak. I knew I was not committed to not, and I didn't even know the gravity of what I was doing until I got into learning, and I saw the holistic picture and the bigger picture, knowing that there's a kind of children I want to raise, and there's a kind of grandchildren I want to have, and there's a kind of great grandchildren I want to have, and all the pictures, the big picture in my dream about raising the next generation. It got me committed. So, like you, Jane, I know that I can parent without yelling. I know that I can parent with peace. I know that I can parent with calm. Even us that are doing it now, we learned it from some people, and it's a cycle that has been going on because the people we learned it from also thought you can't just raise children without shouting. Even my mommy would tell me, my mommy used to tell me those days, all of us, when she come from Mugo, she would say, when she was doing her own Mugo, she will eat bread plenty. She will eat bread to get strength because the next 30, 20, 10 minutes, you're shouting, you're screaming, you're doing this, and we will laugh. And I'm like, Mommy, do you know what these things did to us? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? And then we discuss all of her. She was like, wow, wow, wow. She's a scientist, so she understands some of this brain thing. So she was like, wow, wow, wow. And being a teacher also, she she had, of course, 35 years working with children. So she also had that principle that this yelling, hitting, and all that cannot get a child to behave or correct a child's misbehavior. It can never. It can never. You are only getting a quick fix that solves the problem at the moment, and then later it continues. So she understood all the things I was trying to explain to her because she also worked with children. So today, while we are looking at all of these things that are the causes why our children are yelling, use the assessment checklist and go through what I've written down. Give me the answers, number one, this, number two, this. Give me the answers, send the answers privately. And answers that we are getting daily from our checklist is what we're using to find solution to your own situation. Our situations are different. We're on different journey. Everybody's on a different lane. Our children are not different, are not the same. Even twins are not are the same. Not to talk of all of us that are having different children with different personalities. My own children are not in the level where your own children are. Your own children are not in the level of the other person's children. So we are going to be using the checklist to find solutions that are peculiar to you. That's why I said everybody should send the answers daily from the checklist privately to me, and then we we get solutions peculiar to your own situation. Okay, Adak is asking, how do we get the assessment checklist? I'm sending it to everybody on WhatsApp. I'm sending it to everybody on WhatsApp. Go through it now, do your assessment, and send the answers to me privately. Daily we have different assessments. Tomorrow we're going to have um, on the reasons why you're reactive. We'll look at our reasons, we'll do an assessment, and we see where all of these things are coming from. On the third day, we're looking at brain science. What is science, neuroscience saying about yelling and how it affects our brain and our own health? What is the downside on the parents? Because a lot of parents, even our parents in the past, did not know all of the BPs and all the health issues that we keep having. We don't know where it's coming from. By the third day, we will know. So thank you very much for being in this class. We'll come back tomorrow here every morning, 9 a.m. before everybody get dispatched to their various workplaces. We want to take it early so that I can also get back to work, and then everybody will get back to work, and we do the assessments on WhatsApp, and then take it off from there generally. We'll take it off from there. So thank you very much for being here today. We'll see you again by the grace of God tomorrow at 9 a.m. again. We'll send the link for tomorrow's class so that you can join, and we'll take the challenge and do the assessments, and we'll take it up from there. God bless you, and do have an amazing, amazing day. We'll take our questions in the group, in the WhatsApp group when we do the assessment. Any question you have, we'll take it while we're doing the assessment every day. God bless you, and do have an amazing day. Bye.